Well, some months ago, I was talking with Cat Jenkins, about something else, and at the time I said we must really have a catch-up about you. And we've got a few things I'm going to put out about addiction. And you very kindly come back, and this is not an easy journey, I'm sure, to be talking about it too much, but you've consented to talk. I mean, your life's been a roller coaster. Let's try that one to start with.
Well, that's true, and most of the bumps in the road have been of my own making. Yeah, thank goodness things are smoother now. There are still some, not everything is wonderful, but I'm hoping that the addictive part of my journey is behind me, and that it's, if nothing else, it's taught me some really valuable lessons.
And this is why hopefully people maybe get something from this, and in that point of view. Addiction, though, is it just something in your brain? Is it something you learn? Is it something you inherited? I mean, where do you think it comes from?
Okay, so I'm not an addiction specialist. I'm just a me specialist.
Well, I'm asking you, yeah.
So but what I have learned and what I've taken on board along the way is there are a whole load of different views. So there are people who say that addiction is a medical thing, and I'd say that's probably pretty common in 12-step programs. So we're powerless over it. It's a disease. Will never be recovered. There are other views that it is neurological, so we do it to change the way we feel, and over time the synapses in our brain, the neurological links that become hardwired. So what starts as something we do as habit becomes something it's very hard to stop doing. And then there are other views that it's just fecklessness, it's bad choices, we're bad people, and we're too selfish to make any difference.
Which one do you think you fit into?
Well, I know for sure that I wasn't blameless in what happened. So my view is, for me, that there are choices, and I made bad choices that took me into addiction, but I know for sure that once I was addicted, nobody would choose that misery. Nobody would choose all that loss. So I do tend to the view that it becomes something to do with your brain development. They have a saying, neurons that fire together, wire together. So what starts out as being a choice ends up being something that you gravitate towards every time you feel under pressure, you feel loss, you feel shame, whatever the particular trigger for you is. And it takes a lot of work to rewire your brain so that you make better choices. So I think, without doubt, I made some very bad choices that took me into my addiction.
What were your addictions?
Alcohol.
You didn't go to the drug side of things?
I didn't go to the drug side.
Pill popping or anything like that?
No. If I think about it, there have been times when I've done too much watching rubbish TV. That doesn't sound like an addiction, but things that distract you, take you away, change the way you feel. Lots of different behaviours can be addictive behaviours. One of the recovery groups that I go to specialises in addictive behaviour of whatever kind. So that could be alcohol, drugs, gambling, over internet shopping, overeating, whatever it might be.
Because some people
gossip
are just addicted to everything almost. I mean, you start, but you never went down that route at all. Just wasn't interested in it. It's interesting.
No, it was so for me. My drinking was around feelings, and I could drink on anxiety, shame, lots of that, anger. I'll show you that sort of drinking, and all you really show is that you're going to get yourself into trouble. Even hubris, so that went really well. I must reward myself, relief.
Can you take us through a bit of the journey? I mean, did it start very young, or was it just something that happened?
I started drinking young. I ran around with a much older crowd. So in my teens, I started drinking, and from quite an early age, I would drink fast. I would drink
to get drunk.
To get drunk.
Yeah.
And quite often to black out.
Oh.
Okay. And quite often till I was sick.
I mean, that's a lot of drink, right?
That's a lot of drink, yeah.
I mean, was it downing like vodka or something? Was it?
I think, well, at that age, it was pints, barley wine and cider.
I know. We all remember those days.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to do a drunkalogue of, but it was, it was a lot of volume. And I think at a young age, actually, some people's bodies can tolerate a lot more. So it's, you don't necessarily suffer the same hangovers when you're young. kind of get away with it more because, I don't know, maybe it looks cute, it's what young people do.
Okay.
Consequences aren't quite as serious.
When does it pass just wanting to have some fun for a Friday night out to I've got to have a drink? For you, obviously.
For me, yeah, it's hard to be sure with me because there were times in my life when I didn't drink at all. So I had a time when I was in a relationship with someone who was at that stage clearly alcoholic, and I stopped drinking to try and support him. I didn't have trouble not drinking when I was pregnant. So I guess at those stages, maybe I wasn't drinking alcoholically and hadn't been. But I think I probably drifted into addiction without noticing it, and it was only when I tried to stop that I found I couldn't. There was a time I went through some quite severe depression and was treated for it and came off antidepressants after a period and then crashed again, and I was too ashamed to go and say I'm in trouble again, and I started having a glass or two of wine at night to help me relax and sleep, and it escalated frighteningly fast to several bottles.
Denial is a big part of this, isn't it? When you don't actually think there is a problem, or you don't want to know about it. Push
absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure there was a point when I realised that I was addicted at that point, and it was probably not much surprise to lots of other people.
I mean, you've got a well-documented life. I don't really want to go too much that detail. It's not that important, but certainly it's affected your family. Let's put it that way.
It absolutely has. So I have two beautiful twin daughters, 12 years old. They're an absolute delight and an absolute credit to everyone who's been in their lives. And I'll take some of that credit, but I can't take all of it because they're not with me now. I have hopes that one day that will change, but I can say that they are thriving, and I'm really grateful for that. It also got me criminal convictions. It lost me jobs. It cost me a lot in self-respect and probably in certainly in other people's respect as well. So it was. Maybe some of it comes out of trauma because you're trying to change the way you feel, but it also compounds the trauma because you put yourself through things again and again.
And it just makes you want to reach the bottom.
Court for whatever it is, and you then have to go down the street facing people who think you know better than you ought to be and are right. And so if you're someone who drinks on shame and emotion, there can be a vicious circle there. That's not to excuse it, but it in some way explains it.
Okay.